I think the language that they've used is disgraceful. I do think it's redolent of what was going on in the 1930s all around Europe and many other places. They're making an enemy of people who are just trying to make a better life or to save their own lives in a system where we've got exploitation and war and people in need.
Mick, could you tell us what we're doing here?
Well, we're here to demonstrate the anniversary of the sacking of P&O workers down at Dover on the Dover to France run, and nothing has happened really of substance despite all the hand-wringing and words from Boris Johnson, Grant Shapps and all the other Tory MPs. We've still got the same situation a year later with a very insipid bit of legislation due to come in which we don't believe will work very well. And we've got a situation where other workers and other ferry workers could be put in the same position as P&O. And it's disgraceful that they've done nothing real of substance, and we need to change that and mark that anniversary.
Would you say this was an example of the government not protecting British business?
Well, they haven't protected British business and British business needs, because the P&O service shut down for many weeks. They haven't protected British workers who are vital to British business. Our members of all sorts of backgrounds based in the UK were put out of work, and the people that have replaced them are super exploited. So we've got a double whammy. People on good terms and conditions have been put out of work, and people who are super exploited by P&O and their owner DP World have replaced them, and that is undermining every British worker and every agreement that we've got in the shipping sector, but also in all the other sectors of the economy, and that can't go on. We need a new deal for workers that protects them and ensures that they get their legal rights carried through.
Have your members had to turn to welfare?
Some of them have, some are unemployed, some of them have had to work in other sectors, some of them are working in supermarkets, and some of them have found alternative work in the shipping sector, but of course they've had to start their careers again. They've lost their service with P&O and they've lost their conditions. So it's been a dreadful time for our 800 people that have lost their work, but it's also a dreadful mark on this government that they've allowed this to happen. P&O have suffered no detriment whatsoever. In fact, they think they've liberalised their business so that they can get on with making super profits at the expense of working people.
Do you think this is an example of why workers may not feel loyalty to a company?
Well, why would they? Because if you show loyalty, that what they're going to do ultimately is just chuck you out of work. Many of our members haven't even got their possessions back. They were thrown on the dock, maybe thrown in the sea for all we know. So they were booted out of their accommodation, lost some of their possessions and lost their job. Loyalty has gone out the window in corporate Britain. And what we've been looking for, and what all workers have been looking for in this wave of disputes, is a square deal. And we certainly didn't get it from P&O. We're not getting it on the railway at the minute with the offers that we've been given. And I think many workers, including those in Royal Mail and in the NHS, and in the teaching sector, schools, are not getting a deal that they can be satisfied with, and of course they've got no job security anymore.
Just wanted to ask you about the anti-immigration bill that went through its second reading yesterday in Parliament. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, it's ironic, isn't it, that our members have been replaced by people that are being exploited as migrants. They're not allowed into the country, even though people like P&O are employing them. But where we've got people who are fleeing for their lives and trying to make a better life for their family, they're castigated as the enemy. But corporate Britain has got no qualms about exploiting people of similar backgrounds on our ships and ferries and all around the globe. So we've got a global level of exploitation, but we haven't got a global system of safe haven for people that are suffering all around the country. And I think the language that they've used is disgraceful. I do think it's redolent of what was going on in the 1930s all around Europe and many other places. They're making an enemy of people who are just trying to make a better life or to save their own lives in a system where we've got exploitation and war and people in need.
And just finally, the rail strike's still going ahead this week?
The rail strikes are going ahead. We've got a tube strike tomorrow, and that's due to what's going on in London Transport. And we've got strikes on the National Railway for the train operating companies on Thursday and Saturday, and no sign of any improved offer or any formal talks that we could get stuck into. So we're hoping that after this action that we're taking this weekend, we can get back around the table and get some improved offers and improved scenario for our people.
Just very briefly, finally, I know that you have sent a message to the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, about calling off the tube strike. Is it really his responsibility? Do you not think that maybe he's in the chokehold of the government?
Well, he is the owner of TfL and London Transport in effect. He's the key person. He's got a commissioner who reports to him, and he is in charge of the budget. And in effect what he's done is put our members' terms and conditions and our pensions on the altar in front of Grant Shapps, as it happens, and the Treasury, who insisted on these cuts. And rather than run a campaign amongst Londoners and London Transport users, he's put our members' conditions and their pensions and their livelihoods at stake. And I think he should have joined with us in opposing these budget cuts and standing up for a decent terms and conditions, but also a decent level of service in this city, and bring it back to the levels that we want. And if he wants to get London Transport back on its feet, if he wants to get Londoners moving in a safe environment, which is the key priority, he's got to come to the aid of the workforce and work with us to try and get a better deal from this government.